What's interesting in that spirit, your former employer, BuzzFeed, has launched a native advertising service where they work with partners to basically say, instead of having like a web banner ad that very few people will click on, we'll make a story for you. We'll take your product and look for the elements that we know will make it share well and be partners with you to make this something that can be distributed. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if that's Upworthy's advertising strategy at all now, or if that's something that's being implemented.
No.
But these new business models in general are fascinating, to say the least, but also in terms of, from, let's say, the activist perspective, looking at how corporations have the capacity to almost game the system now, where they know there are just certain elements that will go gangbusters in social media. It lends a new tune to media activism in terms of making sure that our stuff gets out. And that's, I guess, where things were able to come to a head in these occupations when you're confronting police officers and doing these things in these high-stress situations. It's so much is on the line, and I feel like people viewed the media getting out as activism in and of itself. And Messiah, bringing it back to you, do you consider your media to be just activism?
Yeah, I mean, like what's going on now with Kamani Gray. I mean, I've been kind of really more focused on like the outlets that like people of color have. You know, what we have is like, you know, world star hip hop. You know, people fighting on the street, like it's like viral stuff. You know, but like what tweaking the activist component, like with a friend of mine, she's been teaching like film classes in high school, in this high school. I think it's a junior high school, even better. But pretty much she set up this whole curriculum against, like, you know, the Washington Post video that went viral, you know, about anti-stop and frisk, the Interrupters movie, and then she throws in a wild card, this Chinese movie, Bus 44. You can Google that. But she's doing a wild card of the Harlem Shake response video that got like 2 million views, and it was just like people watching the Harlem Shake video and responding to it. So that's like the kind of projects we have, and like teaching kids, like, you know, you don't have to like, you know, you don't have to go to the march, you don't have to do fantastical, like, you know, graphics like the wealth inequality video. All you have to do is just have an issue and just go up to people and ask them, like, you know, what do you think of power, what do you think of police, and what do you think of like your community, you know. So we also structuring stuff like that as moving forward as an activist video, but it's more of kind of a, you know, bait and switch, because it looks like it's just like, you know, a Jay Leno on the street thing, but it really has, like, you know, activist components of engaging people in the community, you know, so in and out. So
in this spirit, in terms of engaging in the community, right now if you go to the Rockaways or any of the areas devastated by Superstorm Sandy, people have these profound stories to tell in terms of how they were able to survive the climate disasters. And Winnie, as someone who spent more than your fair share of time in these areas, what have your experiences been, not only talking with these people, but figuring out how to optimize their stories to be distributed through social media?
Well, if you go to the Rockaways now, you'll see that, like, it is still in pretty bad shape. The debris has been cleaned up, you know, people's homes are being dug out, but it's, you know, the whole of the beach, the whole of the shore is chained up. You know, there's a big fence around it, and the boardwalk is gone, and they're supposed to get it up by summer, maybe not summer. I mean, it looks like, it doesn't look great, you know, and there are a lot of businesses that are still boarded up, and you know, some residents still don't have their well, they don't need their heat anymore, but they don't have their power back, or they don't have their homes anymore, because, like, they're now being told that they have to, you know, if they want to rebuild, they have to elevate their homes by like 15 feet or whatever, 6 feet, saying that's what you get, even though you've lost everything. I mean, everybody has a story. And then, of course, the stories of the long-term health implications of, you know, children living with mold, you know, developing, like, respiratory illness. So there's just so many stories out there that a lot of, like, filmers and a lot of, like, documentarians have captured and are continuing to capture. And it's an interesting point that you make about the Vimeo technology, because I think that could actually really be a real game changer for people who want to make, like, amazing, compelling videos. Also,
Winnie and I were talking the other day about our friend Jenna Pope, who is an activist from Wisconsin who recently moved to New York City, who's been doing a phenomenal job day by day going up to these sandy ravaged areas and acting as a photojournalist, very much in the media as activism mold. Her goal is just to take these photos every day and put, I don't think she uses Instagram, but she has some sort of filters that she puts on to make them particularly enticing, and they spread like gangbusters on her Facebook page. And just, if she comes to your thing, it's almost a success in and of itself, because so many people follow her Facebook page. It's a presence unlike any I've really otherwise seen for a personal page. And similarly, in terms of how this has operated in Facebook, Rebecca, I know you're an avid Tumblr user. I'd be curious in terms of how you compare these services and what lessons we might have from there.
Yeah, I think Tumblr is a lot harder to crack.
Speaking of those barriers to entry, just like how difficult it is to have even a public access caliber TV show, it takes an enormous amount of work, and everyone involved in those shows really put their hearts into it. It was really amazing. But similarly, even regardless of what kind of video you want to take, there are these barriers. It's difficult to do. It involves all sorts of technology. To get the video out, you need all sorts of other skills in terms of mastering social media. And in closing, and then we'll have time for questions, Messiah, you describe yourself as pretty much self-taught when it comes to all things film and video.
Yep.
What lessons would you have for people who are just starting off and are trying to figure out how they can break into this game?
I don't know, like people be thinking, oh, so I shouldn't go to school? Like, yeah, no, yeah, you should. Yeah, I didn't go to school. I pretty much was like Spielberg style of working on film sets when I was like 16, 17, you know, on the ground, and working within the mechanics of like what it makes me a film, and that's how I learned. You know, that's what I feel everyone should do. I mean, I was bossing NYU grads around when I was like, you know, 17, but I don't know, it's just spontaneity, you know, one thing good about shooting like activism in the marches is just that, you know, you only have one take, and there's even more on the line. Like, you know, one take can be someone going to jail, which I already had some footage of people like for court cases and stuff. That, and I mean, it's also about building coalitions with different community organizations within the city. You know, I've worked with New York Communities for Change, Unite New York, Mutual Housing Association in New York, and now also like, you know, different online digital publications like the Brooklyn that's coming out soon and stuff like that. So it's also about developing relationships, you know, and by working within the industry, that's what happens. You know, when it comes to the school experience, it's hard for me to tell people like what to do. I guess you do the same thing I did, but you have like a 4-year, you know, I have a 4-year head start than you. But I mean, it's just about like really being in the industry as much time as you can.